Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. Today's video is about the recent allegations that Louis Vuitton in China sold a fake bag to a customer. I got a ton of messages to please, I want your opinion on this topic, and I feel like I'm a week late because a bunch of vloggers talked about this last week, but I was a little busy, so my apologies. But I did want to weigh in as a former client advisor of Vuitton. Trust me, I was always kind of scared in the back of my mind that I would accept a counterfeit as a return and then turn around and sell it to another customer. Luckily, I don't ever think that happened. So let's talk about this story. If you have not already heard, Louis Vuitton in China, a court had ordered them to compensate a customer who claimed that she went to a boutique, bought a bag, and took it to an authenticator and found that it was counterfeit. So just there, that's a little fishy to me, because why would you go into a authentic boutique, buy a bag, and then take it to a third-party authenticator unless she was in cahoots with someone knowing that she was going to return a counterfeit bag? Anyways, let's talk about the case. If you didn't already know, if you didn't hear it from someone else already. So a local court ordered the brand to compensate a customer who bought a bag from its Changsha boutique, which is in the Hunan province, and it was later authenticated as fake. I don't need to tell you guys, if you didn't already know, that China is one of the the biggest place where you can find all types of counterfeits. Not just Vuitton, Chanel, Prada, Christian Dior, Nike, North Face, like they will counterfeit anything for you, okay? They are also known to have some super fakes, and by super fake, I mean some of these counterfeits look so real that you wouldn't necessarily know. In fact, there is a lady who comes to the office carrying her super fakes. Some of them I can tell. And there was one in particular, she was carrying a Neverfull, which I knew there's no way she got her hands on that. But to the average person's eyeballs, no one would ever know. So anyways, back to the story. So a legal document was disclosed that this particular customer, she bought the Vajerard handbag, which is a canvas bag, and a small accessory. Her total was $3,350. It doesn't say anything about the accessory. Perhaps the accessory was found to be real, but the bag was found to be fake after authenticated by a third party. They didn't say what happened to the accessory. So the brand was ordered to pay 3 times the amount of the bag. So $10,000, the equivalent of $10,050 as compensation. It is said that Vuitton has appealed the decision, which I'm not surprised. I do feel like they should appeal this decision. And in respect to the court order, they did pay her the $10,000, but deny selling anything fake. Okay, so this also goes on to say why the court sided with the customer was that Vuitton failed to submit evidence that the customer was a professional extortioner, or that they had actually sold her a legit bag. From the customer's side, she submitted a receipt, payment records, blah, 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 that she had purchased the bag on that day. So it looks like Vuitton was lacking in their evidence against her, perhaps, and maybe that's even camera footage that she was there. I'm not exactly sure. So to me, it is possible that I don't really know, and details of this case are vague, but it is possible that she found a super good fake of this Vajerard bag. It's a canvas bag. And like I said, she is in the land of super fakes. Or it is very possible that maybe she was in it with a sales associate who went along with her story. I don't know, but the article goes on to state that in August of 2020, a counterfeit ring of Louis Vuitton involving a salesperson was discovered in Guangzhou, and there was a specific salesperson in the Guangzhou store who was selling yet to be released bags. Looks like she was selling them to a criminal gang probably at a very high upsell to keep the profit for herself. And the reason she was doing this, so they had time to take apart the bag, copy the pattern, and stitch up a counterfeit at the same time the actual bag was to be released. Yes, this does happen. This happens even with brands like Zara, Shein, all these fast fashion apparel companies. You know, they watch the runway and then they have Kim Kardashian's dress out there within a week for like thousands less than what you would actually buy the dress. So these counterfeiters or these copycats, they're on it to get you those goods quickly. For those of you, they know you're not going to spend $3,300 for this bag, but you might spend $100 or $300. Some of the super fakes do go for $300 to $400. Okay, so in this particular instance in 2020, when this employee was busted for selling the yet to be released bags, the ring that they uncovered had $14.6 billion of equipment, materials. By materials, I mean like the canvases, the zippers, the buttons, everything that goes on the bag, everything to manufacture this fake bag. So it is pretty big business. I have manufacturing background. I have traveled to China and seen these counterfeits, so I'm gonna touch back on that in a bit. Now, as a sales associate, I know something like the Vajarard, when we are handling the bags day in and out every day, we really get to know these bags. What I mean by that is I know how it should feel. I know the weight of the bag, the way it opens and closes. It's like having a boyfriend, really. You get to know everything about it. The scent, the weight, just you get to know everything about the bag, even the chains. So when I do spot a counterfeit out there in the wild, or even when I have friends showing me their counterfeits, I can see right away, like, this is not a Vuitton quality chain, this is not Vuitton quality leather. So for those higher end canvas bags, we're pretty confident if a counterfeit is coming back. I did worry in the back of my head that maybe a Neverfull might have come back and it's in the drawer. A fake Neverfull is sitting there in the drawer. I was always worried about the Neverfulls because they're much simpler construction. Simpler construction means probably really easy to copy and counterfeit. Like I said, they take the real bag, they take it apart and copy it completely. Also, the Neverfull being such a common bag, some of the newer ones that would come into the store, the binding around the top edge of the bag would sometimes be a little bit wrinkled, and that did pass quality control, yes. So just knowing that, I always wondered, like, if a counterfeit bag came in, would we be able to spot it? I would hope so. Anyways, there was never any question about any of our stock being counterfeit. There were people coming in holding counterfeit bags shopping. Some of them are dead giveaway in terms of color. The brown mustard was off, or just something was really off, or it was like literally a bag that had never been made. I've seen Neverfulls with zippers, and that's like we know Neverfulls do not have zippers. Also, you know, when you return something to Vuitton, it must be opened and inspected thoroughly. And some of the things we're looking for is evidence of use. Actually, that's the first thing we're looking for is evidence of use, because you will not believe some things people leave behind. They might leave money in the bag and make up something like, oh, I was trying to gift it, and you're supposed to put money in the bag when you gift it. I did find once there was a condom in the wallet that was coming back. Not proud of that moment. What had happened was there was a customer, she had been in the store a few times and she couldn't decide between the slender and the pocket organizer. So when she came back with the slender, you know, I knew, I was like, okay, we'll just exchange it. And usually the managers inspect the products with us. And that day, or sometimes if it's so busy, they're just like, did you inspect it? So here's your authorization to do the exchange. And that day it was like, here's the authorization and you need to clock out. I needed to clock out for lunch because you cannot go beyond 5 hours. So I handed it to another CA. I guess he thought I inspected it. I guess I thought he was inspecting. I thought someone inspected it. He later found, so he put that thing back in the drawer, and then luckily he was showing it again, same person, and found a condom in the wallet. Thank God my customer didn't see it, because we know I just didn't think that was a happy union. But anyways, that wasn't any of my business. There was another customer who was so pissed off that I had to open the box and look at the bag inside, because she just wanted to return it and she didn't use it. So, I mean, here she is thinking, like, just give me the money back, when she could have put a sack of flour in there, because I've heard of people selling sacks of flour on eBay. She could have put a sack of flour in there, so I had to inspect the bag. Now, another thing, so we all know that last year Vuitton started to put NFC chips so they can scan the bag, and the chip has replaced the date code. And by the way, the date code is not a serial number. It is not an indicator of fake or real, but I'm gonna go over that too. So the date code simply states the factory and the month and the year that it was made. Okay, trust me, you guys, these counterfeiters are so sophisticated. I knew, even with these chips, that these chips were going to be replicated. These chips can be faked as well, because if they can make a super fake of the bag, they can certainly put a fake chip in the bag. Other things I can add to this case here. Now, I did a video last year with my friend. His channel is Black Belt Barrister. Now, Barrister it's an attorney in the UK, but one that could litigate in court. So he actually took a case against Vuitton and won. If you have time, watch that video, it's linked here. But the nugget that I got out of that is that Vuitton will spend money and vigorously defend their name. So like I said, they profit nothing from selling fake bags, from intentionally selling fake bags. They profit nothing. They are already profiting by selling these canvas bags and leather bags at a huge margin. They are already profiting from anyone who buys this product regular price. So they have any reason to knowingly sell an inauthentic bag, that is a no. So I'm not surprised that they have appealed and will vigorously defend the case. They would rather defend the case because they have the attorneys and they have the money to do so. They would rather do that than to settle. So this is to protect the brand name. Okay, so last thing that I have to add to this too. Now, I mentioned that I used to work in manufacturing in my 20s and 30s. I was in footwear and apparel manufacturing, so I took many trips to China, to the factories where things were made, particularly shoes. So there was this big misconception, I don't know where it's from, that people think, oh, I can buy all these goods for cheap because they're factory surplus. There is no such thing as factory surplus, you guys. I worked with companies with brands that shared factories with brands like Nike, and everything is allotted and everything has to go in a box and in a container to the US or to whichever country it was going to. There was no factory excess at all. Trust me, even the shoes that go to Nike outlets, those are made specifically for the outlets. Those are not excess. Every single bit of material, every single button, everything is counted. So what does that mean? That means there are specific factories that make counterfeits. And these, if you search the internet, you will find them, because I have seen pictures of quote unquote Louis Vuitton factories that say Louis Vuitton on them. As an employee, I already know every Louis Vuitton factory is unmarked. You will never see Louis Vuitton on the outside of their actual factory. You've also seen like the fake stores. Louis Vuitton store will never look like this. So do not be fooled, but you will not believe how many people are fooled every single day, because they do want to believe they're getting a Louis Vuitton at a deal. They do want to believe they are getting the real deal. And for some of these counterfeits, they're even $200 or $300 or $400. So for the average shopper, that is a lot of money. It's not for the luxury shopper, but for the average shopper, they might think, yeah, that's a lot of money, so this must be real. I have had customers come into the store asking to purchase a bag for $500, and they have no clue that that's not even the price point of Vuitton. So, you know, this is the type of customer that can easily be fooled if just a neighbor or someone on Facebook says, hey, I have a Vuitton, it's authentic, and I'm going to sell it to you for $300. They might actually be fooled if you're not doing your research. Okay, so what I do know about these counterfeits as well, there are tons of counterfeits. The most common counterfeited brand in the world is Vuitton. Now, in my travels in China, Nike and North Face were like counterfeited everywhere. You could slap a logo anywhere. None of these were factory overloads. So there were even Vuittons like in these stalls in the markets, and I do remember like if there were authorities coming through, they would cover them really quickly because they weren't even allowed there. But the real good fakes, you had to follow someone. There would be a man kind of standing there going like, Louis Vuitton or Rolex. He would just say the name brand, and then, or Prada. I remember there was Prada also was big at the time. And then you would follow this guy to like a hallway or a staircase to, there wasn't just a vendor stall, there was like an actual room, and all the bags were on the wall, or they would give you like little catalogs to look at. And these were the bags that, like I said, if you didn't know, if you weren't a luxury shopper, and I was not a luxury shopper in my 20s, you would just look at them and think, well, anyone would think it's real. And if they didn't, it's not a big deal. It's just a bag that I'm going to use for maybe a year and be done with it. So I do recall buying, and I wish I still had it, it was an Ellipse backpack, a fake Louis Vuitton Ellipse backpack. And in my eyes, this looked pretty real. It was a good fake. But the one dead giveaway about this particular fake was the smell of the materials. It smelled like PVC. So PVC is just another fancy word for plastic. It's a man-made material. I do know that the Vuitton material is coated canvas, and it does have a smell. It does have a certain smell in the store, but nothing like PVC. PVC is like the smell of athletic sneakers. So the smell of this bag was so strong that even when I took it home, even when I used it, when I brought it to the office, my coworkers would notice that that bag really smells like PVC. So that was a dead giveaway. Now, other giveaways for a fake, and I am still going over this with my friend Leslie as she's looking for a Speedy 35. She's been duped twice already, but she showed me a picture of the code. It's not the serial number, but it's the date code in the bag. And look at this photo, because the font of the code is incorrect. The font should look like this in this picture here, and the spacing of the letters and numbers should be perfectly even. And when she showed me this, I saw the SD space 1108, and I said, that's not right, because the font is not right. And other things to look at is look very carefully at the font that is in the brass buttons. And also the buttons should be brass. They should not be bright gold. That's another dead giveaway. Speedy handles after time, the red glazing will fade. So if your Neverfull or Speedy has like bright cherry red glazing and really white handles, it's most likely fake. And also the leather will always patina over time. So Leslie showed me pictures of this bag that claimed to be 2018, and I was like, there's no way, the leather is too white. And also look at the size, the shape of the shapes. There should be 5 stitches across. So there were a lot of dead giveaways that the bag that someone was trying to pass off to her as real was fake. Now, other things, and these are things they do teach us when I work for Vuitton, not only the things that I just told you about, the shapes of the shapes, look at the glazing, the leather, but look at the logo. The Louis Vuitton logo, the L, the horizontal part of the L is very short, and the O is always going to be a circle. So just observe the things you have that are Louis, even on the dust bag or the box, that the O is always going to be very round, and on most counterfeits, those O's will be oval, or that L is going to be a little bit longer than it should. Now, don't get me wrong, because a lot of fakes are really good. And again, In store, we are not allowed to authenticate, so please do not do like a bag exchange at the store. Especially, I think people do this with vintage bags, and there might be a totally new employee on the floor who's never seen this bag before, not familiar with it, so they do not make the employees responsible for telling you if your bag is authentic or not, and they never ever say fake either, because honestly, there are times where people simply don't know. They think somebody gave me this, it's sentimental, and they really think they have an authentic bag. So we're really not allowed to say, hey, that's fake. There's verbiage such as Vuitton can only, this is verbiage from the repair center. If you are to send in your bag to be repaired, the verbiage is something like, we can only repair or service bags that are authentic, from our craftsmanship and our materials. And they word it very smartly to even say that if the leather was replaced by an outside vendor, then they would know and they wouldn't be able to touch it as well. So those are just some tips, some things to know when you're talking about authentic versus non-authentic bags. So that is my 2 cents. I know that's a whole mouthful. Thank you guys so much for joining. Of course, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. I always talk about buying vintage Vuitton because, I mean, simply, I think the price of a brand new Vuitton is just kind of ridiculous right now for a canvas bag. But now I'm feeling a little iffy about the resale market. I just don't know. Like I said, look for a reputable seller and make sure there is a return policy should any of these things happen. I highly suggest against Facebook Marketplace because you just don't know. Some of these bags are faked so well that you just might not know, or even the seller might not even know him or herself. Thank you guys so much for joining. Love you guys. Bye.